On May 16, 1997, I was born into an upper-class family in South Korea. I had everything a little girl could ask for, and I was happy, of course. When I was 9, I left my home country and moved to New Zealand. Moving to New Zealand, which is my first foreign country, is one of the turning points of my life. One day, probably one of the most important days of my life, I made a promise with my family members. I was watching the television and saw the UNICEF commercial. This wasn't my first time watching a charity commercial, but it deeply hit my heart. I told my parents that in my future I would save all the poverty-stricken children in the world. They complimented me for being brave, and they told me that they were proud of me. Unfortunately, the promise I made was soon forgotten. Life struck me. New school, new language, different looking human beings, unfamiliar food and environment. It was just too much for a 10-year-old girl. As I grew older, at about 13 years old, I became interested in a variety of careers. I wanted to become a magician, nurse, chef, and an artist. But for some reason, my interest in such careers did not last for long. I wanted to become someone in life, and I wanted to wake up every morning appreciating my job, but I couldn't find a strong bond between my heart and those careers. Maybe I was just too young. My family became financially unstable in New Zealand and had no other choice but to move to the US, where my mother's family lived. I hated it. I had to go through the entire process of leaving friends and family behind and adapting to a new country. The first 2 years of my life in the US was horrible. My family and I had to live with our grandparents and my uncle's family. My parents, little brother, and I all together lived in a tiny single room. The room barely fit 2 king bed size. There were countless family conflicts, and we all became physically and mentally exhausted. To distract myself from the reality, I focused on my study. Success is the best revenge, you know? My goal was to become part of the Junior Honor Society in middle school, and guess what? I did. Whenever I struggled, I listened to music. I am very thankful for the existence of music. It is my one and only stress reliever. And this is when I fell in love with composing music. I decided to become a singer-songwriter. But, as I expected, I lost my interest after only a few months.
즐거운 코미디 영화를 봐도 웃음 대신 왜 눈물이 나는지 가슴 한켠 뜨거워지는 책 한 권을 봐도 외로움의 공간이 가지.
After moving into a new apartment, my life seemed to get better. I was wrong, I guess. I was not so far away from college. Just like any other parents, my parents have high expectations of me. Ivy League is what they want. A few months ago, I asked my parents if they remembered the promise I made when we were in New Zealand, and they didn't. I explained my vision of the future, and my parents didn't seem happy at all. Becoming a humanitarian or establishing your own charity organization is hard, I know. But I guess I was expecting a huge support from them. Instead, they recommended other careers, such as a pharmacist or a businesswoman. Who wouldn't want their child to have a stable job? I understand, but it's hard. I almost fell for the wrong path, but my heart guided me. Without the voice of my heart guiding me through the obstacles, I would not have been able to come this far. Now I am the president of the Woburn Memorial High School UNICEF Club. We must follow our feelings and intuitions. Through feeling, one gains wisdom. My bright future waits ahead of me.
쉽게 봤더니 세상이 내 맘대로 굴러가지 않을 때 혼자 감당할 수 없는 절망에 점점 무너지고 현실이라는 벽 앞에 자꾸 끝도 없이 추락하는 게난 이 세상을 헤쳐나가야 할 방향을 잃었어
대체 왜 즐거운 코미디 영화를 봐도 웃음 대신 왜 눈물이 나는지
나만 왜
가슴 한켠 뜨거워지는 책 한 권을 봐도 외로움의 공간이 가진 난 뭔가에 홀린 듯해 모든 아픔들이 내 얘기 같이 몰입돼
일어나 한 번 더 right now Don't worry